28, 30, 31, and they went through 33, correct?
No, it was 31.
31.
All of these are not human. These are not human.
Okay, and so what they are going to publish then is
I could,
12, 19, 21, 23, 26, 27, and 29.
that's my understanding, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, that would not be correct. Based on
Okay, which ones are you going to publish?
the state intends to publish 2, 31, 3.
Oh my God. So could you do them in order, please? 2, 3, 5.
Your Honor, the reason why they're like that is because they are organized by how they will be published, but I can go through.
What are they going to be? 2, 3, 5, 31, what else?
Sure, there are 2, 3, 5, 31, 9, 10, 21, 29, 12, 27,
Oh my God.
26,
It's crazy.
19,
12.
and 23.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me put those in an actual order that makes sense. Give me a second to rule on.
And you showed me.
Okay, and so
Right now, they're making evidence available for discovery,
Okay.
and they're making entries.
So, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
so
Then,
you would object to whichever ones they're not publishing?
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. As cumulative or what?
As either cumulative or not relevant. I mean, I need to sit down and look at the actual photos they sent this morning to be more specific on those. My concern is that there are multiple pictures of the guns, and I do not want the multiple cumulative pictures of those guns
Pull them all
going
up on
back.
the screen so we can all look at them at the same time.
So the jury
So
gonna
what
see
does one show?
reputation.
Why is one needed?
State does, just one second.
So they're taking evidence out of this public charge.
Yeah, thank you. The state doesn't intend to publish one, excuse me, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, stop. My understanding, I just wrote down I know that.
Correct.
Because I got which one, but you intend to tender them. And so and there is an objection. And so I have to rule on whether I'm going to admit them.
Understood.
Okay, so I'm only going to be asking you about the ones that you intend to tender but not publish because there's not an objection to the ones that you intend to publish. So tell me why the ones that I'm going to ask you about are both relevant and not cumulative, why you need them.
As to the state's exhibit number 1 that the court asked about, this is a crime scene photo that shows another yet angle of that particular area where they stopped. It could be helpful to the jury if it becomes an issue about where in fact the cars were positioned.
Okay, I don't know what this crime is about. So, and this is the very first picture that I am seeing of it. So what happened? What was the crime?
No problem, Your Honor. This crime scene was started off as a traffic stop because of a traffic violation.
Okay.
That the officers observed a failure to signal. After which the officers then went to pull over the car after activating their emergency lights. They in fact did so. And upon stopping, the persons contained inside the vehicle who were later identified as Mr. Martinez Arnold and Diamante Kendrick, then stopped their vehicle for a brief moment, did some fidgeting, then took off at a high rate of speed in the area going on to the 20 eastbound.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can the witness be excused while we go through
Yes.
this? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right, so if y'all can avert that camera, thank you. Okay, so there's a chase and then there's a crash
There's a chase, then there's a crash after.
and then they run out of the car.
In separate directions, and those photos could become necessary if there's a disagreement or confusion about which directions in which they.
Okay, and so it's the black car that was the car they were in?
Black Monte Carlo.
And that's where it lands, is up against that guardrail?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yo, the call in is going to be.
Okay, well, 1 and 4 honestly look like
No
the
sign of
same
the-
picture.
And, Your Honor, as I'm looking at it, if the court wants me to remove 4, I can do that. I do not have a problem doing that.
It is not what the court wants or doesn't want, although the court does want attorneys who know how to try a case.
But they don't. They're not doing good.
But my rulings are based on the rules of evidence, okay? So is that the same photo?
It is not the same photo.
Is it almost the same photo?
In my estimation, no, Your Honor, because it's a closer view and it gives more perspective as to what is in that photo.
Which one do you want?
The state would be fine with having photograph number 1.
Okay, so 4 is out. Are you withdrawing 4 or am I ruling 4 out?
State can remove 4.
Okay. I'm gonna let 1 in, so then the next one would be 6,
But they got the same.
which is
over
a,
and over.
you can see the license
And,
plate fine in
oh,
5.
she's trying
You
to
don't
do it.
need 6.
Clean it up a little bit.
You can withdraw it or I'll rule it out.
State can remove 6.
Okay. 7. What does 7 show that the ones you already have don't?
7 gives a better perspective as to the wooded area because it's a little dark, as you can see, Your Honor. It shows better view of the vehicle and some of the portion to the left of it where you see the door open, that eventually becomes much clearer once the crime scene takes the interior inside of that driver's side of the vehicle.
Yeah, I disagree with the characterization of what's in the photo, but the court can see for themselves.
You don't need 7. Cumulative. All right, 8.
8 gives a perspective of the passenger side vehicle, a closer view, as will be shown in the same, the next exhibit, a closer view that you can see. It's much clearer.
Okay, wait, the next exhibit, meaning what?
Exhibit 9, it kind of is the same type of profile. For the,
All right, 9 is the driver's side of the car.
yes.
And
I'll,
so,
I'll withdraw my objection to 8,
Okay.
Your Honor.
so 8 is fine. Okay, what does 11 show that 9 and 10 and 12 do not?
11 shows, Your Honor, the inside door of the vehicle. You can see inside the side panel where the pocket is, whereas in 10 you don't have that opportunity.
And is there anything significant in the side pocket?
Just the things that are in there that we expect that the officer can say that he saw multiple items in plain view.
Anything of significance?
I would say no. If you don't want the state can do without 11.
All righty, you're withdrawing 11. 13.
13. This shows that the car is on because as you can see,
Yeah, a lot of people gonna get fired.
The radio is there. The keys are still in the ignition.
After they try, they waiting and they try to be over to fire a lot of people.
Was in fact still left right.
That's all in 12 as well, Your Honor.
Seems to be.
It's not clear, as clear as it would be in 13, Your Honor. That is the reason for that publication, purpose for that being a part of this.
Then do you want 13 instead of 12?
No, 12 is more important than 13 because.
All right, I'll let 13 in. Then we have 14. What's the point of 14?
14 is a closer view of the keys being in ignition. We can withdraw it.
All right. 15.
The state is in this photograph. It's a direct photo of the firearm that was located within the car. If in fact this is to be admitted, Your Honor, it could show a better perspective of this firearm. Which
Is it not pretty well shown in 12? The entirety of it is shown in 12.
Okay, that's fine. We can withdraw 14.
All righty. That was 15.
Excuse me, 15. As is the case for 16.
All right, thank you. And then 17?
17, we can withdraw.
All right, 18 shows the back seat.
Yes, I believe we already agreed to withdraw that.
Okay.
From publication, so that is
All right.
not necessary.
Withdrawing it from, are you not going to tender it for admission?
Excuse me, we will not be seeking to admit.
Okay. All right, and then
19, is
19, there's no objection to 19. So 20, you're actually able to see who
yes,
who it's of. So I would think that one is fine. 22. Where did that come? Oh, that's just a close-up of what's in 21?
It is a closer view in this photograph, Your Honor. You can see a little bit better the serial number as well as the make and model of that file.
Then I would suggest they should use 22 instead of 21. They don't need both, Your Honor.
Well, you can't tell where it is if it's just 22. 22 is fine. 24 is the trunk.
Yes.
Why?
This had within it just a few items that were found. They're not really pertinent, but they were part of the crime scene photos. We can withdraw.
All right. 25.
25, Your Honor. This shows the black glove that was mentioned in the report. It focuses in on that particular portion inside the middle
All
console.
right. That looks like a gray glove to me, but okay. Is
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
in 26, it looks black.
Yeah, I don't see the black glove in 25.
I don't either. It's probably just because it's a bright flash or something. And so why do you need 25?
Because without that perspective, you may not know that that's the center console. And that is why we in fact use both, because you need the perspective to know.
All right. And then 28
28.
shows the serial number of that long gun.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. And 30, where's 30? So is this a third gun?
So third state's 30 is not that. We can withdraw that. That is a better. The other one was a little blurry. But
Okay.
this is another photos coming in with this handgun, so we
Okay.
can withdraw it.
And I think that's all of them.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all. That should have been done before now. We wasted 20 minutes of the jury's time. Let's get the witness back in. Let's make sure we move that up. Thank you. And is this agent only going to be identified by last name?
Yes. First initial and last name.
All right.
For my record, can I have your first name? For my record, can I have your first name?
Just Jay, or do you want the full name? Okay, James.
Yeah, we're ready this time. Thank you. All right, if you can swear our next witness.
I do.
I thug got on Balenciaga in the courtroom.
Your first initial's fine.
All right. First initial J, last name Dougherty, Dougherty.
Good morning, Mr. Doherty. Are you employed?
Yes, sir.
And where are you employed?
I am currently employed with the federal government Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
And what do you do in your current status as an employee of the federal government?
I'm a
Oh, yeah,
federal agent tasked with
they
criminal
can't show the
investigations.
witness faces.
Okay, and how long have you worked in that capacity?
I've been there with the Bureau for about almost 3 years.
And were you employed prior to your employment with the the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm Explosives Department?
Yes, I was.
And what was your employment?
I was employed with the City of Atlanta Police Department.
And in what capacity did you work for the City of Atlanta Police Department?
I was a sworn officer.
Okay, and if you could just talk into that mic, everything is being transposed.
Is that better?
Record thing. And how many years in total were you employed with the Atlanta Police Department?
I was employed with the Atlanta Police Department for approximately 12 years.
And when did you begin with the Atlanta Police Department?
I began in 2010.
And when did you end?
I ended about 2022.
And were you post-certified during your entire time with the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes, I was post-certified.
What was your official title prior to leaving?
Prior to leaving, I retired out as a sergeant.
And did you often work with the partner while at the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes, I did for some of my career.
Please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who that partner was.
My partner typically was a C. Munson.
And how often would you work with him?
I probably worked with him approximately 5 years on and off between different units on the department.
And I want to direct your attention to the date of Tuesday, October 1st, 2015. Do you remember working that day?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what shift were you working around about that time?
On that given night, I believe we were working a shift, which is like late evening into early morning. So we were working probably approximately 6 p.m. to about 2 a.m. in the morning.
And do you recall patrolling around about the area of Federal Avenue, Boulevard Avenue, Southeast Atlanta, Georgia?
Yes, I do.
And can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you recall about patrolling on that day?
On that given night, we were patrolling Confederate Avenue coming up to Boulevard, and we witnessed a vehicle make a traffic infraction in front of us.
And what was the traffic infraction to your recollection?
To my recollection, they were in the left-hand turn lane of Confederate Avenue, and they proceeded into the right-hand turn lane to turn right. So they made a right-hand turn from that lane without signaling to proceed north on Boulevard.
And at this time, when you're observing this traffic infraction, are you in a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes.
And are you also in uniform?
Yes, we're in clearly marked Atlanta Police uniform.
And when you saw this traffic infraction, what, if anything, did you do? Well, let me ask this question. Who's driving?
My partner Munson would have been driving that night.
And when you did see this traffic infraction, what, if anything, did you do at that time?
We would have illuminated the emergency equipment on our vehicle to initiate a traffic stop on the vehicle.
And did you initiate a traffic stop on that vehicle with your partner that day?
Yes, we did. We initiated a traffic stop.
And did you get out of the vehicle at the time of that traffic stop when you initially stopped it?
No, we didn't get out of the vehicle initially. Typically what we did is when we did initiate a traffic stop, me and my partner, because it is dark at night, we would take the spotlight and illuminate the interior of the vehicle from the back to be able to see the individuals inside and kind of assess what they're doing. On that given night, we observed the two individuals inside the vehicle begin to shift around a lot and turn around and continually look at us. Typically when that happens, we kind of hesitate to get out because one, it could mean either someone,
Speculation.
Overruled.
one, typically it could signal that maybe they're looking to ambush the officers walking up.
Sustained.
Without saying, I'll ask you a different question. When you did not get out of the vehicle, did anything happen after that?
Yes.
What,
They,
what happened in that particular incident when you stopped and didn't get out?
so they shifted around. We're looking back. We decided not to get out because usually people fled at that point, and that is indeed what they did.
And when the vehicle, and what kind of vehicle did you stop?
We stopped a black Chevy Monte Carlo.
And do you recall where, in proximity to where you initially noticed them, that you stopped that black Monte Carlo?
I don't know the exact distance. I know we initially saw them at Confederate and Boulevard, if you're familiar with the area. And then the stop was actually conducted at not Moreland, I'm sorry, I misspoke, Boulevard and Glenwood.
Okay, and how many people were inside the black Monte Carlo?
Inside of the black Monte Carlo, we could see 2 people when we illuminated it.
And when you observed the vehicle take off after you stopped it initially, can you describe whether it moved fast or slow?
I do not remember the exact rapid or how fastly it took off. I just know that it left the traffic stop.
Okay. Did you follow after the vehicle when it left the spot where it initially was stopped?
Yes, we did.
And did you continue to have activated your emergency equipment, being lights and the siren?
Yes, we would have left all the lights, sirens, everything on to, notify the public also.
And prior to leaving, in what direction did the vehicle travel when it left from the stop that you initially made of the vehicle?
It initially continued north on Boulevard towards I-20, where it made a right-hand turn onto I-20 eastbound and picked up speed to get onto the freeway.
And as the vehicle is taking this path, are you able to observe any movement or anything inside of the vehicle?
Yes, a black glove, or what appeared to be a black glove, went flying out the passenger window. It was merging onto the freeway.
During traffic stops, do you typically speak with dispatch?
Typically, yes, we would speak with dispatch during a traffic stop.
And did you radio dispatch at all during this incident, this stop?
I did radio dispatch.
And what did you communicate with dispatch?
I would have communicated with dispatch the stop and that we had one fleeing from us. Typically, they ask for traffic conditions, reason for the stop, things of that nature, conditions of the road, stuff like that.
During the time that you were speaking with dispatch, were you ever contacted by Unit 2697?
I would have been contacted by the supervisor. I'm not sure 100% which supervisor it was.
Okay. And what, if anything, were you advised to do in the course of your pursuit?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Effect on the listener, Your Honor.
Can you ask it a different way that doesn't call for your say?
Really can't, Your Honor, at this point, but I'll move on. Was there ever a time during the course of your pursuit of the Monte Carlo that you stopped pursuing it?
Yes, there was.
And what, if anything, occurred at that time when you stopped pursuing the Monte Carlo?
When we stopped pursuing the Monte Carlo, it had come to, it basically wrecked out. It had wrecked into a guardrail. When you exit I-20 eastbound on Flat Shoals there's a guardrail and a stop sign. It had ran through the stop sign and came to a stop at the guardrail.
Right? And when it stopped at this guardrail, did the occupants remain inside or did they do anything else?
At that point, the occupants jumped out of the vehicle and began to flee on foot.
In which directions did the occupants of the vehicle go?
The driver fled northbound on Flat Shoals and the passenger fled southbound on Flat Shoals.
And did you and your partner pursue?
Yes, we did pursue.
Did you pursue by car?
We both pursued on foot.
And did you have a description? Did you ever get a description of those individuals, the passenger and the driver?
I'm sure we would have gotten a description by looking at them. I don't recall that exact description that night at this point.
Would looking at a copy of the report associated with this matter refresh your recollection?
It may, yes.
All right. Now approaching the witness with State's Exhibit 32 MM, which has already been provided in discovery. Take a moment to review that, and when you had a chance to have your memory refreshed, you can look back up at me, and then I'll continue asking you questions. All right, has your memory been refreshed?
Yes, sir.
What was the description of the passengers that you obtained from that, from this incident?
The occupants of the vehicle were both wearing black clothing.
And do you have any other descriptors about them?
I believe the passenger was wearing a black shirt and black pants, and the driver was described as wearing a black hoodie and black pants.
What was their race?
Both were black males.
What was their, what is their gender?
Black males.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I missed that part. And did you later come to obtain an identity for these individuals?
Yes, we did.
And what was the identity of the driver?
The driver was Mr. Diamante Kendricks.
And what was the identity of the passenger?
The passenger was Mr. Martinez Arnold.
And as these passengers, as Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Arnold are fleeing on foot, did you ever give any verbal commands to them?
Yes, I was chasing behind Mr. Arnold, and I did give him verbal commands to stop.
Did they stop?
No.
And I should say, did they stop at your command?
No, they did not stop at my command.
And as you gave chase to Martinez Arnold, can you describe where he went during this chase? Is there any location that you followed him to?
When he fled south on Flat Shoals, he dipped in behind the houses to the left, went behind one of the properties there, one of the houses, chased him to about a fence. He hopped the fence. At that time, when he jumped over the fence, he stumbled and fell. Me with all my gear on, it takes us a little longer to get over a fence. Couldn't see his hands, so I used my city-issued taser to try and stop him. The first time I fired it, it's ineffective. It didn't make good connection. The second time I fired it, it did make good connection, basically making him immobilized and giving me time to get over the fence to apprehend him.
And after, during the course of that interaction, was he injured in any way to your recollection?
To my recollection, I do not know of him being injured, no.
Would you please pull that mic a little closer to your mouth?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Brown?
After detaining and apprehending Mr. Arnold, did you remain where you were behind that fence in Wood area?
No, after apprehending Mr. Arnold, I would have walked back to the car.
Did you walk alone or did you take him with you?
I would have taken him with me.
All right. And do you recall the address associated with the home to which he fled behind?
I don't recall the address, no.
Would that have been noted in the report?
It may have been.
You want to take a moment to look at it?
I'll check.
What was the address?
The address was 1909 Flatchills Road.
Okay. And was Mr. Arnold searched incident to arrest?
Yes.
Was he searched by you?
Yes.
And what did he find? What did you find, if anything?
I don't remember right now the exact things I found. I'm going to have to refer to my report.
For your report, look back at it if you don't need to. All right, has your memory been refreshed?
Yes, sir. All right. When I searched him, I found in his front pocket would have been approximately 6.6 grams of suspected marijuana, and his right front change pocket of his pants was a small round pill with the markings 230 on it, which was suspected oxycodone. And then in his, I guess in the rest of his pants or his person, we also located $45.40 and a cell phone and a cell phone charger.
After returning to the space where you initially stopped, where the vehicles stopped, did you ever see your partner again?
When I returned to the car, my partner was not there. He was still chasing.
Did he ever apprehend the driver, Mr. Kendrick?
Yes, he did.
And do you know if force was used to apprehend him?
I believe he did use his taser to apprehend him.
And was he injured as a result of the chase and pursuit? That being Mr. Kendrick?
I do not know if he was injured or not.
Do you know if Mr. Kendrick was searched incident to his arrest?
Objection, Your Honor, counsel speculation.
I don't know.
I don't know if you,
Overruled.
I don't know whether he has personal knowledge.
I mean, when it says, do you know, personal knowledge, please.
Do you have personal knowledge of Mr. Kendrick was searched incident to arrest?
I did not search him. It would have been my partner.
And was there any other, do you recall if, when seeing Mr. Kendrick, him having any kind of garments around his neck?
I can't say that I remember. No,
Would you have detailed that, would that have been detailed in the report?
it may have been.
Would you please take a moment to look at it and then look back up at me when your memories?
I'm going to object to that in the report, it's good cause of hearsay.
Right. That would
And
be
hearsay,
hearsay.
and it would be outside his personal knowledge. In order to testify, we would see him.
Right, he was personally at the scene.
Overruled.
You may answer the question.
In the report, it details that while he was being treated by Grady EMS, he had a black and red bandana around his neck, Mr. Kendricks.
After returning back to the location where the car had run into the guardrail, did you have an opportunity to look around or about it?
Yes,
Did you also have an opportunity to look inside?
yes.
And after you had the opportunity to look inside of the vehicle, did you see anything of evidentiary value to you?
Yes, we did.
What did you see at the time that you looked inside?
There were 2 firearms in plain view in the vehicle, and we ended up calling crime scene photo technician out to take photos of the vehicle.
Was there anything else of importance inside of the vehicle that you took note of?
Not before searching it. I mean, we wouldn't know.
Were the firearms loaded or not loaded?
Both firearms were loaded with 1 round in the chamber.
And what type of firearms were located inside?
There was a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol, sorry, and there was a 7.62 AK style rifle in the front seat also.
In your training and experience, are you taught to run checks on firearms?
Yes, we are.
And did you do that?
It would have either been me or my partner Munson. Yes.
Okay. And what were the results of any check, if any, of the firearms?
That
Sustained.
Right. Now I'm going to approach you with what has been previously identified as state's exhibits 1 mm, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12 mm, 13 mm, 19 mm, 20 mm, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 31, all under the phonetic subset of MM. Alphuric subset MM. Would you take a second? Well, let me ask you this. Have you had a chance to review those exhibits prior to coming to court today?
Yes, I did.
And what do you recognize those exhibits to be?
They look to be photos from the crime scene there that the crime scene tech took of them.
And do those photos that you have in your hand now that have been previously identified reflect the crime scene and the things that you testified to earlier as you remember it to be?
Yes, they do.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the crime scene as you remember it to be?
Yes.
Have those photos been changed or altered in any way?
No.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, the state now moves to admit the previously identified exhibits into evidence and subject to your ruling, request permission to publish.
Those are admitted and you may publish.
All right. Sorry, good work. While that's being prepared, I want to ask you a few extra questions. And want to ask you, when you were at the crime scene, did you in fact call for the crime scene ID tech?
I don't remember who called for them. I know we called for them though.
And why was Grady called out to the scene?
Again, I don't remember them being injured, but if we had Grady on scene, according to the report, it's because they complained of injury and we would render medical attention to them.
Okay, and, excuse me, and as they were being rendered medical attention, did they continue to remain in custody?
Yes, they had been in custody the whole time.
All right. Now, showing you, it's going to populate on the screen. Now showing you. Brief indulgence. Okay. And as the scene of the crime was being processed, did you continue to, by the ID tech, did you continue to remain present?
Yes, we'd have been on scene the whole time.
Okay, and the vehicle, you indicated it was taken, there were photos taken, but did you personally conduct the search of the vehicle, or was that done by another person?
I don't recall who actually searched the vehicle.
All right, so now showing you, and I'm going to reclaim these, and you can look at the screen as the photos come up. Starting with State's Exhibit 1MM. And when the crime scene photos are being taken, are you the person or the other, or your partner being the person to direct where the photos are, or are you doing other things?
I mean, usually the crime scene techs would kind of know they do their own thing, but we would direct them like, hey, we need photos of inside the vehicle or the firearms, things of that nature that were found.
All right. The in front of you is State's Exhibit 1MM. And can you see that clearly on that screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And going to publish this. Right. I'm going to enlarge it for you to see. And as I am doing this, I would like to ask you if, with this particular exhibit, you recognize the vehicle that is on the screen with the blue lights.
Yes, I do.
All right. And do you recognize the vehicle that is beside it, that is in all black?
Yes, I do.
Is that the Monte Carlo that you described earlier in your testimony?
Yes, it is.
And what roadway are these two vehicles situated on?
That is going to be Flat Shoals.
All right. And now showing you State's 2MM. What direction is the view of the camera facing on Flat Shoals, cardinal direction-wise?
That would be a view of southbound.
Do you see anybody that resembles yourself in this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
Do you see anybody that resembles your partner in this exhibit?
I do. I'm
going to try to zoom in, see if it is, and there should be a wooden pointer behind you. I'm going to ask you to reposition with the court's permission to point out yourself and to point out your partner.
That would be me at the back of the car, and that would be my partner right there.
Showing you State's Exhibit 3MM, and the vehicle is this the guardrail that you were describing that the vehicle made impact with on that day?
Yes.
All right. Can you read off the driver's license driver's plate number associated with this vehicle?
Yes, it's a Georgia license plate BXF 3832.
And that is State's Exhibit 5MM. Showing you State's 8MM. Is this the side of the vehicle that you described Mr. Arnold exiting from when he ran and fled from the scene?
Yes.
Right. Showing you now 9 mm. And this side of the vehicle, can you describe the condition of the front driver's side tire?
The tire appears to be flat.
Was it flat when the vehicle was being operated by Mr. Kendrick?
No.
Is it flat as a result of impacting with the after the impact?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Showing you now states 10 mm. What is being depicted? What is shown in this exhibit here?
In this exhibit here, I draw your attention to the floorboard under the steering wheel. You can see a silver object with black. That is going to be the .40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol. And there's also what appears to be a Fanta bottle with a yellow label and a purple drink inside of it. I would suspect that to be.
Sustained.
Without saying suspicion, do you see a yellow bottle with a purple liquid inside?
Yes, I do.
Do you see anything seated on the driver's seat?
Yes.
What do you see?
There's a cell phone with what appears to be an identification card on it.
All right, now showing you states 12 mm. Please describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you see here.
In this photo here, I see the AK style rifle propped up against the middle console and a backpack on the passenger floorboard.
All right. Do you know if that backpack was searched at all?
I cannot recall if it was or not.
Okay. And from this photograph that you are looking at, now publishing free states 13 mm. From this photograph, can you tell, looking at the radio or the steering wheel console, if they're still be on?
It appears to still be on.
All right. Showing you states 19 mm. Is this the cell phone that you were describing that you saw earlier with the identification card, just with a clearer picture?
Yes, it's just a closer view.
All right. Showing you states 20 mm, excuse me. And using states 20 mm, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the name on the identification card and for that?
The name is Diamante Kendricks.
All right. Showing you states 21 mm. Do you see a firearm in this photo?
Yes.
Is this one firearm that you that was collected that evening?
Yes, it is.
All right. Showing you states 22 mm, and I'm going to zoom in. Can you from the zoom tell what the make and model of that firearm is?
It's a Smith & Wesson, and it looks to be a model 4013 TSW.
Okay. And from this image, can you tell what the serial number is associated with this firearm?
It's a little hard to read. It appears to be VJJ 9116, possibly.
Now showing you state 23 mm. Do you see a piece of clothing behind the driver with seat in this photo?
Yes.
Is that piece of clothing the black hoodie that was recovered from that vehicle that evening?
I don't recall if it was recovered or not, but it appears to be a black hoodie.
Is that the same black hoodie that was detailed in the report?
I can't say to that. I don't know.
All right. Now showing you states 25. Do you see any gloves in the center console?
Yes.
And what color are the gloves that you see?
The glove appears to be black.
All right. Showing you states 26 mm. Is that still the same glove with better color perspective?
Yes, and it looks like there's another glove behind it.
Showing you states 27 M. Can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is depicted here?
Depiction here is suspected marijuana.
Showing you states exhibit 28 MM. Can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen, is this a closer view of the serial number associated with the rifle style firearm that was located in the vehicle?
Yes, it is.
And what is the make and model of this firearm?
Looks like the picture's cut off a little bit. It's a 75 Sporter, caliber 7.62. I can't see it's cut off. I can't see
What's the serial number?
the serial number is going to be the A0-1820-82 RO.
Okay. Publishing for you. Excellent. I'm going to forego that. Okay. A few more questions for you. Would like to ask you, after the two occupants of the vehicle were taken into custody, where were they transported?
They would have been transported to the Fulton County Jail.
Are you sure about that?
I mean, we did have Grady EMS out
Objection
there.
asked and answered.
Overruled.
We had Grady EMS on the scene, so as long as they're cleared by Grady, they would be transported to Fulton County Jail. If they deemed that they needed more medical attention, they would go to the hospital.
And the items, what was done with the vehicle, to your recollection, that was driven by them that evening?
The vehicle had been sent to impound.
And the items that were recovered from inside the vehicle, and what was done with those?
They would be transported by myself and Officer Munson to the city annex to be put into evidence.
With incidents that happen at the APD, that APD responds to, are they given an APD case number?
Yes.
And do you know the APD case number associated with this incident?
Yeah, it'd be right here on the report in front of me.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the APD case number is.
Is it okay if I read it right from there?
You can look at it and
Okay.
recall it.
All right.
Okay, what is that?
152740150.
And as it stands for this case, with respect to your involvement, did that conclude your involvement with this matter?
Yes.
State has no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, are there defense questions for this witness? Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Is it Agent Doherty?
Agent Doherty, yes.
Agent Doherty. Good morning, Agent Doherty. My name is Doug Weinstein. I'm the attorney for Diamante Kendrick. So I have a few questions. You were, as you testified, that you are the person that apprehended Mr. Arnold, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you tased Mr. Arnold in order to apprehend him, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you knee Mr. Arnold in the back?
I don't recall that.
Did you spit on him?
No.
Would that have been appropriate to do?
Objection, Your Honor, relevant.
Sustained.
Would it have been appropriate if your partner kneed and spit on Mr. Kendrick after tasing him?
I'm going to object in the same grounds, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay. After this arrest, were you ever called to testify? And I'm speaking specifically regarding my client, Mr. Kendrick. After this arrest, were you ever called to testify at any hearing, trial or sentencing for Mr. Kendrick?
I don't recall if I was or not.
Are you aware of Mr. Kendrick being sentenced for his possession of a firearm and serving time with regard to this incident?
No, I'm not.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, are there other defense attorneys with questions for this witness? All right, is there any redirect?
State has no redirect.
All right, Agent, thank you for your time, and you are excused. And we're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll have y'all back in a few minutes.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching our coverage of the Young Thug trial. Now I want to take a quick second and I want to tell you about this stream's awesome sponsor, Upside. So what's Upside? Upside is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. So when I go to pump my gas, I can use the Upside app and get cash back. Real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So once you have the Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow the steps on the app and you get paid. And as you saw me just do, you can use Upside at places like Shell, Exxon, Mobil, 7-Eleven, Taco Bell. That's just to name a few, by the way. There are so many more. So to find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen and use our promo code LCLive and you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's promo code LCLive for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas.
Actually, I see one alteration that already needs to be put. You are to consider, I think it would read better, you are to consider those statements only against Mr. Stillwell and only for the offenses for which he is charged. So thoughts? Comments?
I believe that proposed jury instruction may be a bit overbroad as it applies to Mr. Stillwell, because I don't believe if there's any relevance at all. I mean, I kind of feel like there's no relevance any of this against Mr. Stillwell, period. But I understand we need to distinguish the co-defendants from Mr. Stillwell because Mr. Stillwell's words. But I would say to count one, Mr. Stillwell to count one, if you deem it
Okay.
appropriate.
All right.
Count one.
All right. Let me make that alteration. is admitted against some parties and not others, and for some counts and not others. When this happens, that evidence may be considered by you, the jury, only as to the party against whom it is offered, and only for the count for which it is offered, and not against any other defendant or for any other count or purpose. During the testimony of the next witness, you are going to hear about statements made by defendant Stillwell, also known as Jackson. You are to consider those statements only against Mr. Stillwell and only as to count one. You may not consider those statements in any way in determining the guilt or innocence of any other defendant in this case besides Mr. Stillwell. And I can add again the any other count if you'd like that said again.
Well,
Statements. You may not consider those statements as to any other count. And you may not consider those statements in any way in determining the guilt or innocence of any other defendant in this case besides Mr. Stewart. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Person. Your Honor, may I approach with a matter? It
Yes.
has nothing to do with the case. But
Yes, and everybody can go ahead and use the restroom.
Okay.
Your Honor,
That's awesome.
may I just make sure that we maintain, on behalf of Mr. Nichols, that we maintain our objection to the admissibility of this evidence?
At all.
Yes, thank you. And also, I think I speak on behalf of everyone else that they maintain their objection on the admissibility of the evidence.
Does everybody else?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Okay, yes.
idea what you're getting yourself into there.
Initially told to go to the intersection of Hank Aaron and Milton. And when I got to that intersection, of course, I saw an accident. And I think the address that I noted in the police report was 40 Milton Avenue.
Now, what part of Atlanta are those addresses that you responded to?
I think at the time it was the Zone 3 district of Atlanta. So that would be more like southeast of the city.
Now, when you got on scene, how many victims were there?
At that location, there was only one victim. That was actually a deceased young lady by the name of Tiara Jones. And it was brought to my attention that there were two more victims and they were taken to Grady Hospital.
Who were those two other victims?
The two other victims, female front passenger, her name was Shakoya Duncan. And the back passenger was Shannon Jackson.
Now, Detective Griffin, I want to approach you with what's been marked as 1 Triple Delta Papa through 24 Triple Delta Papa. And Investigator Griffin, before you were on the stand, did you have an opportunity to look through those photographs?
Yes, I did.
And what are they?
These are crime scene photographs taken by the crime scene tech who responded at my request.
And are they a fair and accurate depiction of the crime scene photographs for this incident?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to tender into evidence 1 through 3 Triple Delta Papa and 5 through 24 Triple Delta Papa.
They're admitted.
Now, Investigator Griffin, it's going to come up on the screen before you. I'm going to publish and walk through a few of these exhibits.
Okay.
You also got a couple options behind you. You got a big board there and one behind you. So whichever one works best for you. Thank you. Yes. So I'm going to publish 1 Triple Delta Papa. Now, Investigator Griffin, is this the street that you were mentioning, Hank Aaron and Milton Avenue?
That's correct. That's the intersection that I was assigned to go to.
I'm going to publish the next exhibit. Can you describe for the jury what we see in this exhibit?
This is an overturned vehicle operated by the decedent, Ms. Tiara Jones. I forget the year, but it was a green in color. I think it was a Mountaineer, Mercury Mountaineer.
Now, when you first responded, did you know any of the facts and circumstances behind what happened?
No. So as it was initially described to me, they thought it was just an accident. As a result, the hit and run unit came and they responded. So they initially processed the crime scene. And then some officers took note of some defects in the rear lift gate, which they thought it might have been from a projectile. And as a result, they started looking for shell casings, which they found. And because they found that, that's when they called me and asked that I respond.
I'm going to publish the next exhibit. Where were some of the shell casings in relation to the vehicle that was overturned?
So again, if you have the intersection of Hank Aaron and Milton, maybe 50 yards, which is where the accident is. So in between that distance, that's where the shell cases were lined in the street.
I'm going to publish the next exhibit. Now, what type of shell casings were on scene?
I believe we located 12 spent casings. I think the caliber was a 7.62.
And do you have familiarity as a homicide detective with shell casings and guns that fire them?
Yes, I know enough to know that that came from an assault rifle or an assault rifle pistol, something of that caliber. It's an assault rifle.
Now, what did you do? I'm going to publish the next exhibit, but ask you a question. What did you do with the shell casings you collected?
Actually, the crime scene technician that responded, she's the one that actually collected them, and then she gave them to me. And what I did was brought them to Atlanta Police, put a barcode on them, and placed them in the property as evidence.
I'm going to publish the next exhibit. Is this a close-up of one of the 7.62 shell cartridges that you collected?
That's correct.
And this is 12 triple delta Papa. Publishing the next exhibit. This is 15 triple delta Papa. And going to publish 17 triple delta Papa. 19 triple delta Papa. 22 triple delta Papa. And 24 triple delta Papa. Now, Investigator Griffin, with the defects you had mentioned in the vehicle, where were they on the car? The front, the side, the back?
From what I noted, they were in the back near the lift gate.
And were there any firearms that you found on scene?
Yes, I think it was Officer Clayton. He was the first to respond, and he actually found a semi-automatic handgun. I think the caliber was a 45 caliber Springfield.
Where was that 45 caliber Springfield in relation to the vehicle?
As he noted in his report, it was feet away from the vehicle.
Now, after you cleared this scene, did you have any initial leads, or what were your next steps?
No, so the only lead that I had is we had 2 surviving victims, and they were taken to Grady Hospital. So what I did was, after I left this crime scene, I went to the hospital to hopefully try to speak to the 2 that were alive.
Were you able to go to Grady's? Is that where you went to Grady?
I went to Grady Hospital. That's correct.
When you got to Grady, what did you who did you encounter?
I spoke to the front passenger, Shakoya Duncan, and the rear passenger, Shannon Jackson.
What kind of condition were they in when you met them that day?
Shakoya Duncan, she had a severely injured leg. I think at one point they were talking about it may have had to get amputated, but I'm not sure if that actually happened. So she was in the process of going to have surgery. And Shannon Jackson had, if I'm not mistaken, a lung and a rib injury.
Were you able to speak with them about what happened?
I spoke with both of them briefly, again, given their condition. I didn't want to have a detailed interview, so I spoke with them briefly.
Now, after speaking with them, what did you do next?
The next thing I did was, of course, try to do some research on the individuals that were inside the vehicle. We call it just a generic search to see if I can find anything about what happened and possibly who done it. And what I was able to find out is that the young man in the backseat, Shannon Jackson.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Yes.
Investigator Griffin, when you worked homicides in APD, did you ever consult with the APD gang unit?
Often.
What were the circumstances when you would on a case you were working?
The way that our department was worked.
Sustained.
You said this was September 26, 2015. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever have any consultation with anyone in the Atlanta Police Department gang unit to assist you in this investigation?
I did.
Without saying what they said, when was it that they began assisting you?
Within the first 1 or 2 days of the initial investigation.
And after consulting with them, what investigative steps did you take next?
We went back to the hospital to actually go speak with Shakoya Duncan and Shannon Jackson, and I brought those detectives with me to assist.
Without saying what anyone said on this date, were you able to speak with both of them?
I was.
What other personnel, detectives, were with you when you went to visit them?
With me was Detective Dennis, Detective Gaither, and Detective Edwards.
After that secondary follow-up at Grady, what did you do next in your investigation?
Again, tried to go hand out flyers in the community, just try to elicit any help from anybody. And so again, I spoke to a lot of different people who knew the family of the deceased, and of course knew the surviving victims.
Now, let me ask you this. Were you ever able to establish a location of where that vehicle may have been before where it was found at the crime scene?
Yes, I was.
What was that location?
The address was 1192 Prior. That is it's like a Chevron, JJ's Chicken, and I think there's another restaurant right there.
Now, were you ever able to, or did you try to get any surveillance from that location?
I did. Part of those investigative steps, myself and another detective went to try to find cameras in all those businesses, and we were able to find some cameras in a few of those businesses over there.
Without saying what anyone said, did you have any information or possible directions to go from your conversations at the hospital before getting that surveillance?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Did you have any, without saying what anyone told you, did you have any possible leads for what you would be looking at in that surveillance video when you obtained it?
Yes, a specific vehicle was of interest to me.
Now, when you obtained that surveillance video, did any specific vehicle stand out to you in relation to the vehicle that T.R. Jones was in?
Yes, specifically a red Camaro.
Now, did you do any investigative work on this red Camaro?
I did.
What did you end? Who had that red Camaro?
I found out that the vehicle was actually owned by Enterprise, and it was rented to a young lady by the name of, excuse me if I mispronounce her name, Archillian Bennett.
Sustained.
Now, Detective Griffin, in your investigation, did an Archillian Bennett ever come up?
It did.
And did you ever come to learn where she lived?
Yes, I did.
Where did she reside?
An address off of,
Your Honor, I'm not asking him what anyone told him. Investigator Griffin, are you familiar with the Trestle Tree Apartments?
I am.
How are you familiar with them as an Atlanta Police Department homicide detective?
Well, specifically with this case, that address popped up and I drove over there a couple of times.
So you physically went to that address?
I did.
What street is that address?
I don't know the address, but the street is Confederate.
And was that street and specifically Trestle Tree Apartments of note to you when you were looking into Archillian Bennett?
Yes, it is.
Now, after getting that surveillance video, was there any suspects, or let me ask you this. That red Camaro, what was significant about that car in relation to the vehicle that T.R. Jones was in terms of the people in that vehicle or what they did in relation to the vehicle?
Could you say that one more time?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
What stood out to you about, was there anything suspicious about the people in and around that red Camaro that stood out to you?
The people did. The people stuck out to me. Again, just from looking at the surveillance videos, their interaction with Tiara Jones and Miss Shakoya Duncan.
Now, is there any restaurant at that location?
Yes.
What restaurant is it?
The one specifically that was of note is JJ's Chicken.
And was anyone in the vehicle with T.R. Jones inside that restaurant at any point?
Mr. Shannon Jackson.
And were you ever able to locate any other surveillance video other than at that location?
Other than that location, yes.
And did that assist your investigation?
It did.
Can you explain for the jury how it did?
Well, I got a direction of travel that Tiara Jones went. So what I did was drive that route that was explained to me. And any place that I found cameras, I reached out to the place of business to see if we can try to get surveillance footage.
Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with what's been marked as 25 Triple Delta Papa. Investigator Griffin, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is a snapshot of a route that I took and I put in my police report.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of what you created in this investigation?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to tender into evidence 25 Triple Delta Papa.
It's admitted.
And Your Honor, publishing that exhibit for the jury.
You may.
Now, Investigator Griffin, I want to see if I can find this old school pointer. And Your Honor, if I may, does the court by chance have the wooden pointer up on the bench?
I don't know what happened to that.
That's all right,
Give
Your
it
Honor.
back to me, so,
I will, oh, I found it.
all right.
So Investigator Griffin, I'm going to hand you this. If you don't mind, you can use this board if it helps you. And so I want to ask you a couple of things first. I'm going to try to zoom in to the best that I can.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to orient. Can you show the jury where the crime scene was, where the vehicle was found?
The vehicle was found in this address. This is the address that I put, which is 40 Milton Avenue.
And what is that 1192 prior?
1192 prior, that is where JJ's Chicken is in the Chevron gas station.
Now, what is this blue line that is connecting those two addresses?
This blue line, this is the route that I took from the initial spot where the vehicle was found, meaning the red Camaro. So I drove the route that was explained to me, and I did a dry run to see how long it was going to take me to get from that point all the way to the crime scene.
And what vehicle was Miss Tiara Jones driving?
Ms. Tiara Jones was driving the green Mountaineer.
And was the red Camaro at 1192 prior?
Yes, it was.
And I wanted to ask you to orient, do you see a Veneer Avenue on this map?
Yes, I do. It's right here.
Do you see a McDaniel Street?
McDaniel Street, yes, McDaniel Street's going to be over here.
Now, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Do you see a Hendricks Avenue?
Hendricks Avenue, yes, I do. Right here.
Do you see a Pryor Street Southwest?
Pryor Street is going to be on this side.
Do you see it between I-85 and Hendricks Avenue, a Pryor Street?
Yes. This is going to be Pryor right here.
And do you see at the top, is there a Cooper Street Southwest?
Cooper Street, yes. Cooper Street is right here.
And two to the right of that, what's that street?
Formo.
And what's to the right of Formwell?
Formo, then you have Pryor Street.
And why is it, Investigator Griffin, that, well, let me ask you this. Does this appear to go in a roundabout way?
Yes, it does.
And why is that?
Well, again, if you're familiar with the area, there's many different ways to get to this location. So from my investigation, I was under the impression that the red Camaro went this direction. And I wanted to, again, get a picture of how long it would take to get from this side of town to where I believe people of interest may have resided, back over to the crime scene, which is 40 Milton Avenue.
Was there any other vehicles that caught your attention other than the red Camaro?
Yes, there was a black sedan. I don't know the make and model, but there was a black sedan.
Was there anything from reviewing the surveillance that indicated to you those cars, either the people or vehicles, had similar movements?
It appeared they had similar movements. Again, I wasn't able to definitively prove that, but it appeared that they had similar movements.
Now, what was some other steps in your investigation after you did this test drive route?
Again, my goal was to try to speak to anybody that can help me with any type of information. And we started looking into social media accounts of interest.
You can sit back down if you want to.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, Investigator Griffin, was there a specific social media account that became of interest to you?
There was one in particular.
And what was the handle?
I believe it was P92 something. I think it was P92H.
Now, in 2015, would Instagram come up in your investigations?
It would.
Or other social media?
It would.
And how would you capture relevant social media investigations you worked?
Twofold. If the account was private, then I would try to obtain some kind of legal process, would be in the form of a search warrant. Or if it was open to the public, I would try to scroll, look at the pictures, look at friends, and just try to capture what I'm seeing by taking screenshots and add them to the case file.
Now, Investigator Griffin, throughout your investigation, did you periodically have either assistance or consultation with either Detective Dennis or Detective Gaither?
Primarily Detective Dennis.
Now, from this social media, were you ever able to identify any suspects that were at 1192 prior that you believe could have been involved in the incident?
Yes, I did.
And did you capture or record those social media?
Yes, I did with the screenshots, like I mentioned. took a screenshot or a snapshot of it and included it in my police report.
Now, I'm going to approach you with 26 and 27 Triple Delta Papa. That is correct.
Siri.
Investigator Griffin, when you get a chance, just look up at me when you're done.
Okay, I've looked at them.
What are those?
These are some of the photographs that I found in that specific social media account. And again, I took a picture of it and included it in my police report.
And did it have, so is there a fair and accurate depiction of some social media you gathered in this investigation?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state's going to tender into evidence 26 and 27 Triple Papa.
Triple D.
Or, excuse me,
Papa. All right.
Triple D Papa. Yes, Your Honor.
Those are admitted.
Thank you. Now, Investigator Griffin, did you, I'm going to publish first 26 Triple Delta Papa. It should come up on the screen momentarily, and you may need that pointer again if it's nearby. I'm going to try to zoom in some on it. And if you can you give me 1 second? Hold on. Okay. There's a slight delay, but it's going to zoom in here in 1 second. So, Investigator Griffin, while that's coming up, can you help orient for the jury people of interest in this investigation that are depicted in 26 Triple Delta Papa?
I can. Are you wanting me to say their names or nicknames?
Yes, you can say both, please.
Okay. This gentleman right here, Jamal Ward. The young lady sitting next to him is Archillian Bennett. This young man right here, I forget how to pronounce his first name, but his first initial is D. Last name was Lewis. This gentleman right here is Bobby Hardy, aka Smoke. And his nickname, I think, was Murrow. And this young man, I think he had a nickname of Ola Player, something similar to that.
And without saying what anyone said, in your investigation, did you ever speak with who you identify with the nickname Smoke?
Yes, I did speak with Smoke.
And in your investigation, did you ever come to have any information from the surveillance that he was present at that gas station before the vehicle with Shannon Stillwell, T.R. Jones, and Miss Duncan left?
That is correct.
I want to also publish for you what's been admitted as 27 Triple Delta Papa. Okay. While I'm getting this Zoom back up line, I'm going to keep. Okay, just like. Your Honor, this may be a.
All right. Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you all a limiting instruction at this point. Sometimes evidence is admitted against some parties and not others, or for some counts and not others. When this happens, that evidence can be considered by you, the jury, only as to the party against whom it is offered, and only for the count for which it is offered, and not against any other defendant or for any other count or purpose. In the next part of this witness's testimony, you're going to hear about statements made by defendant Shannon Stillwell, also known as Shannon Jackson. You are to consider those statements only against Mr. Stillwell and only as to count one. You may not consider those statements as to any other count, and you may not consider those statements in any way in determining the guilt or innocence of any other defendant in this case besides Mr. Stillwell.
Now, Investigator Griffin, did you ever have a third conversation with Shannon Stillwell?
I did.
When was that,
Um,
time-wise?
I believe it was the 2nd of November, 2015.
And in all your interviews you had with him, in this case, was he a victim, a witness, a suspect? What was he?
No, Shannon Jackson is, matter of factly, a victim in this case.
And when you spoke with him in November, where were you?
In November, I was at Atlanta Police Headquarters. I think the address is 226 Peachtree, if I believe that's correct.
And is that where that interview took place?
That is.
Were you able to get more information in that interview than you were prior?
I was.
Now, do investigators have different interview techniques?
Absolutely.
What is your technique when you're speaking with a witness, a victim, anybody?
Well, I try to be relatable. That's first and foremost. So for the most part, I talk how I would normally talk when I'm not at work. Sometimes I use slang, sometimes I curse, but that's just the way that I speak.
Now, in that interview, can you tell for the jury, did Shannon Stillwell give you any clarity about what happened before they got to 1192 prior?
He did.
Can you describe for the jury how that started? What Shannon Stillwell told you in relation to that?
And specifically what he told me, or
what he said about the events prior to arriving at that location?
it was a pretty organic, meaning he was just going to go pick up his child, and en route to go do so, they wanted to get something to eat.
And were both Miss Duncan and Miss Jones in the vehicle with him?
That's correct. Mrs. Sierra Jones was the driver, and Shakoya Duncan was the front passenger.
And what did he tell you happened when they got to that location?
When they got to that location, he meaning Mr. Jackson, went inside to get his food. He waited inside for his food to get done. And while he was inside waiting for his food, that's when he took note of the red Camaro and the individuals that were inside of that red Camaro.
Now, did you ever ask him, or did he ever say in that interview that he recognized anybody at the gas station location?
At the gas station, he specifically said he recognized Bobby Hardy, which is Smoke, and Jamal Ward, which is Merrill.
Were those two individuals in that Instagram photograph we had displayed a few moments ago?
Yes, they were.
Now, what did he say in relation to seeing them there?
Again, he noted that they were there, number one, and he noted that Mr. Bobby Hardy actually approached the vehicle and spoke with either Tiara Jones or Shakoya Duncan. Again, he kept making reference to that's where they hang out at. So I got the impression from the interview, he was just aware of them being present.
And did Shannon Stillwell indicate to you that he was friendly, not friendly? Was there any significance to seeing those specific people that day?
Yeah, he was not friendly. Again, I don't want to give the impression that he was like on edge, but he, as he expressed to me, he was just aware of them, and they're not friends, they're not associates. And again, he took note of them, and he brought to my attention another incident that took place.
Now, I want to ask you, what did he say happened once he did he ever get his food and walk outside?
He did. So he got his food and walked back to the vehicle. And at that time, that's when Mr. Shakoya Duncan decided to go into the store that Mr. Jackson had just left.
Okay. And what happened next? What did he say happened once they got in the car?
Once they all finally got back into the car, he said that they drove off. I think the Camaro had left first and went to the left. And when they got into their vehicle, the driver was instructed to turn right, which would be north on Pryor. And they were going back to where he lived.
Now, Investigator Griffin, got it. Now that the technology's back working, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for you. Can you orient the jury? Is this another social media post that you pulled in this investigation?
Yes, it is.
Now, do you recognize that area?
I do.
What neighborhood is it?
That's the Trussell Tree community.
And who in this photograph specifically was someone that you were looking at in this investigation?
Again, this is the owner of the account. That's Mr. Lewis, and that's Mr. Kelvin Watts, aka Shell Cal.
And what does that gentleman on the far right shirt say?
It's an A and a B and a G.
And Investigator Griffin, when you were speaking with defendant Stillwell, did he ever identify for you other people that he believed were either in that red Camaro or close by at the gas station?
Yes, he did.
Who were the people he identified?
He identified Bobby Hardy, Jamal Ward, and Kelvin Watts.
And when you were speaking with him, did y'all do any type of photo lineup?
Yes, a photo lineup was shown.
And what did he describe about what he remembered while they were driving after leaving the gas station, but before any shooting took place?
What he described was seeing the red Camaro coming down at a fast rate of speed. It was probably coming south on Pryor. And then he said when he turned the corner, he heard a large revving of an engine. And he said he just took note of the headlights, that it looked like the Camaro that he had saw at the gas station.
And did he say he heard a couple, a few, or a lot of shots?
I believe he gave a count of upwards of 20, is what he told me.
Now, after that interview, and was that in November?
That's correct.
What else did you do in your investigation?
Well, I did obtain warrants for the 3 individuals that the victim identified, but the investigation continues. So again, we try to wait for cell phone records so they could be analyzed. And again, just making myself available to anybody that wanted to speak with me as it relates to this investigation.
And Investigator Griffin, did you, after you took out the arrest warrants, did you ever become aware of any of the individuals that an arrest warrant was taken out of that were not indicted?
That is correct.
Who was that individual?
Kelvin Watts.
Now, I want to also ask you and show you something very briefly. I'm going to mark this as